Hey guys, it's Last Rohican coming at you with another video, another little fireside chat, just kind of talking about while we play some Grand Theft Auto 3, while we talk about some of the new things that are happening in the gaming industry. This time, our last video was kind of talking about some of the big corporations. This is now kind of like the little corporations or the little guys that are basically trying to squeeze on gamers. And that's through the super and fun world of greenlit games or Kickstarters. So if you haven't seen some of the bigger YouTubers talk about it now, there's a game called Dreamworld that is a survival MMO that just got released through Kickstarter. And surprise, surprise, we've been through this for nearly a decade now. It's hot garbage and pretty much unplayable for the user. And the crazy thing is that it raised $64,000 in seed money to create this game. And I think all of us are just collectively scratching our heads at who are these rubes that put in $64,000. I mean, if you have been, a more active, mature gamer in the last 5-10 years, you know that these whole Kickstarter greenlight games are just really a dime a dozen, especially when we talk about survival games, MMO games. They never work out the way we want them to. They never live up to the hype or the promises that they have. There's a whole graveyard of games that can talk about this. I've been suckered into it as well. I paid my dues in terms of not wanting to do this, but this became a trend, back in 2011, 2012, 2013, and to still see it happening in 2021, 8, 9, 10 years later is pretty startling. Who are these people that are donating $64,000 to create a game as bad as this? I mean, in the trailer itself, it has frame rate issues, and there's nothing in the trailer that really shows that this is a new cutting-edge game. Is this just 8-year-olds spending mommy and daddy's money? Is it $64,000 of someone's money that they didn't actually have to do this? I'm always so startled by this. I mean, and going back to the trailer, the trailer itself is just all over the place. And I'll put the link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video because I don't see how anyone can look at this and be grabbed by it. I don't see how anyone can look at this and be like, oh, this is different, or the concept here is different than, a Rust or things like that, or a DayZ or Escape from Kharkov, any true MMO survival game out there. I just don't understand. It has frame rate issues. It looks terrible. The skins don't look good. The whole mechanics just really look like an asset grab from either, the Unreal Engine store or from Unity. And they just kind of plopped a bunch of stuff down, maybe hired a developer for a couple weeks to randomly generate a procedural world, and then add in a multiplayer component. But I don't get it. I don't see how people looked at that and be like, yep, that deserves money right there. Maybe I wonder if they thought that, if they were there on the ground up, they would maybe get a few exclusive videos out of it, some content, or just be one of the OGs. But I just don't get it. I understand that we're all looking for the next best game, the next newest thing that really either revitalizes an old genre or paves the way as a new one. We all are looking for that, and we're always looking for something new and the latest and greatest. But this game did not have that. Especially for the MMO survival genre, we're not going to get a game that really has any new crazy features. We've kind of tapped out that market. This genre is old enough now that we've pretty much explored most options that if you're going to really see a game do well in this genre, it's because they have developers that really put in the time, have the capital to do it, and don't need Kickstarter money to do it. These 3-4 man teams just aren't going to do it without many years of investment and discipline, like Rust. It's not going to come from shitty little videos like this. And so it's always so weird seeing these things take off and then people getting mad when it fails. Shame on this guy, shame on this snake oil salesman for doing a cash grab, but come on, everyone. We're better than this now. We know when this is bullshit. or we should. And maybe this is also a little bit on Kickstarter too. I mean, it's kind of the Wild West with them, and I think they need to create a much higher barrier to entry. Steam does as well. I mean, it's disappointing that Steam had a good system where it was a voting system to make sure games got greenlit or not, and now all you have to do is pay like $500 to get the game on. Like, it should either be, if you don't have the money, you got to get voted on. If you do have the money, it's $1,000 or something. Like, the barrier has to be higher for them, and I don't understand why they don't have that, you know. And so with this one, it's no different. And then, like, it's funny because in the video itself, they have this, like, you know, guest star come on, and it's this guy who claims that he worked at Facebook and Google and Apple, and it's just like, how is this a ringing endorsement of the game? Like, how do any of those three companies actually have any sort of credibility for developing a game that actually works? None of them actually have experience creating an MMO survival game, and none of them have background in it. And also, like, just in case you actually watch that and you're like, oh, this is a good endorsement here, this guy knows what he's talking about, anybody can go on to a video and say that they've worked anywhere. I can say I worked on Facebook. There's no way that anyone can back that up, and there's no way that anyone can do anything about it. You know, if you've seen a weight loss commercial where they put some guy in a fucking lab coat and he says, I'm Dr. So-and-so and I endorse this, he doesn't have to be a doctor. Usually you see in those commercials, they say these are actors, not actual professionals. Same thing here. That guy could have just been completely pulling something out of thin air to do something. And I don't know if you watched the Penguins video of it, but he basically made fun of it, being like, oh, they probably are talking about how Steve Jobs got resurrected to also endorse this project. It's so weird. Like, I don't understand how this guy, who's the main leader behind it, thought like this was a good idea and this was what will get people. But hey, he got $64,000 off of it, and he has no obligation to give that money back. So, you know, and that's one of those things where if there's one piece of advice, one piece of like a tip that I can actually give people, it is that do not ever invest in Kickstarter survival MMOs. There are certain Kickstarters that are actually maybe worth looking into, but don't do survival MMOs. Like, just hold on to your money. Like, no one's going to recreate the wheel here, and the people who are actually going to create the next big survival MMO, it's going to be a big player. They're going to invest a lot of capital, a lot of money into it, and that's how they do it. Look at World of Warcraft, for example. You know, by the time WoW Classic came out in like 2006, 2008, there was already a very strong pattern of MMO games out there. You had EverQuest, you had Dark Age of Camelot. There's a lot of games out there that are and then Diablo to a degree. Like, there are games out there that had a really good MMO multiplayer PvP component to it. But you had a company like Blizzard who was able to invest a ton of time, ton of capital into it, and make it one of the biggest and best MMO games out there. So if you're really looking for that survival game, it's going to come from an established company. It's not going to come from three dudes, or in this instance, three shysters who just bought a bunch of assets on Unity and plopped it into a game. That's not where this is going to be coming from. It's going to be coming from an established developer. And you'll know it's an established developer because they won't be on Kickstarter asking for your money. They'll be getting actual seed capital to do this. Or they will have a much more robust game by the time they talk to you because they're serious about it. So that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Dreamworld. You know, should people have been duped, or was it reasonable that people got duped? Better question. And you know, what should I talk about next? If there's a review you want me to do, let me know, and I'd be happy to try to entertain it. So it's Last Brohican, guys, and as always, take it easy.